Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC 280, Oliveira versus Makhachev. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the women's bantamweight division, Lansberg versus Rosa. And how I see this one right here is I think both women definitely fall more into the strikers department. I feel like Rosa is younger. I feel like she's the more technical striker. And I feel like she's been putting more work into her grappling department. I feel like Lansberg has been necessarily getting better. She's always tough. That's one you could count on for her. But I don't think toughness is going to be enough to get her to win here. I feel like Rosa can beat her everywhere this fight goes, and I think that's what she'll do. And like I said, that toughness will keep her in the fight. So in this one, I got Rosa via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the flyweight division, Mokaev versus Malcolm Gordon. So how I see this one right here between Mokaev versus Gordon is, I think Gordon's a very scrappy. I mean, not scrappy. Let me not use that with him. That's not the right way to say him. Gordon's very technical, and he's a very underrated fighter. If he can get past that first round, get past those jitters, but if you can get him out early, he's definitely most vulnerable early. You can knock him out. Well, definitely it's probably all comes down to chin. His grappling's always solid. His striking's always solid, at least offensively. But defensively, and really throughout the fight, defensive flaws, but definitely early, you could definitely catch him cold. He's not as sharp. Like I say, he's a slow starter, but once he gets in the fight, he can be, he could be a problem. But Mokaev is a solid, one of the best young fighters pound for pound right now. I'm not saying like top 10 or nothing like that, but as far as pound for pound young guys with actual potential and to be great, he's one of the guys that had the most potential right now. He's very young with like sub 25, but that's besides the point. I just feel like Mokaev has all the tools he needs. I think even Gordon at his best, I think Mokaev beats him everywhere. I just think Mokaev is going to come out there, look to start him early before he can even get in there. Not because he's scared of what he brings, but because, going out there to be Goku and say like, hey, I'm going to give you a round so you could, I'm going to give you a round off so you can come in the second round and be at your best. No, I'm going to get you out there before you get to the second round. Like, that's on you to be able to stick in the fight and do your best, not for me to allow you to hang around. So I just feel like Mokaev can come out early, press him early, look to touch him some power shots, have him stumbling, hurt. Then it's probably just level change, drag him to the mat. Gordon probably try to go for a guillotine or something. That Mokaev is going to be a pass leg to the side. Then start to look to ground and pound. Then transition to his back. More ground and pounds. Lock him up. Flat him out, ground and pound. Then probably like a rear naked choke. Not second round, first round. So in this one, I have Mokaev via first round submission. Now to our next fight we have in the middleweight division, Petrosyan versus AJ Dobson. And how I see this one right here is I think AJ Dobson has a real good shot, a real good puncher's chance. I definitely like the evolution I've seen from him, or at least the improvements. I believe I'm seeing from him. He is the more well-rounded fighter, but is he capable of being more using all his tools? Like, he's capable of using his wrestling? I don't know at this level. And we have seen Petrosyan with guys that have definitely used their grappling at a higher level and then more consistently at a higher level than Dobson. Obviously, I just like Dobson. He really ain't got no BJJ. I'm not saying he don't have any BJJ, but is he really like a threat in the BJJ department? I don't see him no real submission threat. I mean, he did submit one guy, but Petrosyan's been in there with Kyle Borralho, and he's been in there with Gregory Rodriguez. Both of those guys are far better submission grapplers, and they weren't able to tap him out. They had him in some good positions, but they weren't able to tap him out. So I don't think Dobson's grappling is like BJJ wise is nowhere near those guys. Matter of fact, I feel like his wrestling not near Kyle Borralho's, even though he was the one who actually had a wrestling background. But all I'm gonna say, Dobson's the more like well-rounded guy, but is he capable of using that more well-roundedness? So that's what it all comes down to. You can be the more well-rounded guy, but if you can't get no takedowns or you can't maintain no takedowns, what is it good for? Maybe against a guy you could get off on that, but if you can't get it off, then yeah. So I just feel like this is going to play down to a striking matchup. Dobson has a good puncher chance, but I like Petrosyan's recent work, and he hasn't really been getting in any 50-50 exchanges. He's been using his feet, throwing the shots, and getting out the way. Like, he hasn't been in there trading in the pocket. I don't feel like Dobson is so good at cutting the cage off. I don't feel like Dobson has such great arsenal or such great striking IQ. Definitely no P-brain moron, but dude has, well, I mean, he's much better than that too. I'm not saying he's dumb or anything. He's not that. I'm just saying he's not no super sharp striker, is all I'm trying to say. He don't have that experience in the striking. So I just like, basically he's going to play a striker's game and strike with a striker most of the time in this fight. Probably try to mix in some wrestling, but not enough to edge a win, and I don't think the fight's gonna be so necessarily so close that even if he did get like one takedown, that's gonna be still around. It'll keep him in the fight maybe, but it won't win him the fight. Is all I'm saying. So I see Armin Petrosyan outstriking this fight. Playing it pretty cautiously, or at least playing it smart and not getting no, like I said, 50-50 exchanges, landing shots, and not really trying to force a finish. If it comes, it comes. If it don't, it don't. And it's like I said, on his bike, landing his kicks, getting out of dodge, then mixing in his hooks and his power shots when needed, working around the jab when needed. And like I said, not in front of Dobson and giving him the opportunity. Also, having that height advantage will help. Dobson does have a reach advantage, but yeah. So in this one, I have Armin Petrosyan via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, Abubakar Nurmagomedov versus Omargadzhiev. And I see this one is, I just feel like, just straight up, I just feel like Abubakar Nurmagomedov does have some grappling deficiency, has had, very little opposition in his career. I mean, the two best guys he fought was like a 40-year-old Doomsday with Harris, I forget the dude's name. I stay forgetting his dude's name, but either way, a 40-year-old ex-UFC veteran, and then who also has, never really had the greatest wrestling defense. So that's one, John Howard, never had the greatest wrestling defense. And then Jerry Gooden, who not even UFC no more. So, not no great fighter. He okay, that's what I'm gonna say. He okay, but basically he ain't fought the best people. I feel like Omargadzhiev has fought better competition. And also, Abubakar has had issues in the submission grappling department. I feel like Omargadzhiev I feel like striking can relatively be even. I feel like Omargadzhiev leads to the more finishing threat on the feet. Like he packs more power and he throws with more power, more heat. And I feel like striking is but yeah, I think the striking is relatively even, or at least up for, I guess, debate to see who wants it more. But ultimately, I feel like the experience of Omargadzhiev. Yeah, I think his experience fighting higher level competition and not getting in tomato cans like 90% of his record is going to prevail. And he only has lost to Kyle Borralho, who's one of the best middleweights active right now. Well, middleweight prospects active right now. So it's a different ball game. So I think he's going to come down to a better weight class for himself. And he's going to be able to press Abubakar with some power shots, try to scramble, initiate some grappling, and be back and forth. But I think that experience is going to come through, and I think Abubakar is going to be the one making mistakes. Mistakes is like this Texas or something, but making mistakes. And Omargadzhiev is going to use that experience, capitalize on the flaws, and I see him tapping him out like second round. So in this one, I have Omargadzhiev via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the light heavyweight division, Volkan Oezdemir versus Nikita Krylov. And how I see this one right here is good matchup right here. I think it kind of come down to, what does it come down to? Oezdemir wants to keep the standing and he wants to, knock him out. But Oezdemir hasn't really knocked anyone out in 5 years, X amount of years. It's been a while since he knocked anyone out. And he hasn't really been active, and then he hasn't been active, he hasn't been knocking people out like that. And then Nikita Krylov hasn't, only one knockout loss, and it was really like a TKO for Mount, so it wasn't like he just got standing knocked out ever in his career. So it's been like somebody was a very big heavyweight, took him down, sat on his chest and punched him in the face. That wasn't the case of, your chin's bad or it was striking. He really hasn't even, low-key hasn't looked all that bad in striking against anyone really. So yeah, chin held up pretty much. And only been knocked out one time, probably when he was 22 years old, because I think dude was 23 when he joined the UFC, or 22, whatever the case may be, and that was a heavyweight. But nonetheless, I just feel like Oezdemir is kind of relying on being able to keep him on the feet and potentially outstrike him or knock him out. But the knockout doesn't look as likely given the fact he hasn't knocked no one out in years, and Krylov hasn't been knocked out in over a decade, it feels like, or close to a decade. So yeah, I think Krylov can push the pace on him. I think he has the better momentum right now. So I feel like he can push the pace on him. He can maintain that for 3 rounds. And Oezdemir has had a history of slowing down, even though recently it seems like he's been doing better at conserving himself and stretching himself over 3 rounds. It hasn't been a case somebody has really truly pressed him for 3 rounds. We have seen Craig just spam takedowns. It's that's exhausting, but it's not as exhausting as somebody forward pressuring you on offensive striking in pressure, power shots, and takedowns versus a guy that's just looking for spamming takedowns. That's more exhausting for the guy spamming takedowns than the guy that's, like I said, setting up his takedowns and setting up his strikes and doing the full game MMA instead of spamming predictable takedowns. So it could be a different thing. Krylov, one thing about him, he is very unpredictable. He's a very odd guy. So this is making my point. I just feel like Krylov can outwork him. I think that's what he does, and I think he beats him to a decision. Like Krylov just been able to take his power, being able to outwork him, and then especially outwork him in the later, like the second and third round to get their decision, whether he wins all 3 rounds or just wins 1 in 30, or I definitely think he'll probably win the third round for sure. Then it's maybe 1 in the second or the first, or maybe all 3 of the rounds. But you definitely think his work rate and his durability will prevail here. So in this one, I have Nikita Krylov via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, Mahmoud Muradov versus Kyle Borralho. So Mahmoud Muradov versus Kyle Borralho. Let me say that again. I'm butchering, but we only doing one take. Mahmoud Muradov versus Kyle Borralho at middleweight. How I see this one right here is, I think Mahmoud Muradov is a solid talent, solid skills, definitely get him some good genetics and, work, I guess, to build his body, build his strength, build his speed and explosiveness as well on top of, natural gifts. But right now, I think Kyle Borralho is the better talent and the better prospect. All it took was 1 loss. Muradov was probably one of the brighter prospects in his weight class, then just 1 loss, and now people writing him off. Now I'm like in the party as well as people kind of writing him off. I'm not writing him off, but Kyle Borralho like that new shiny toy. And now in this fight, if he hadn't had a loss, they'd probably be neck and neck or on the odds, or maybe Muradov would be favored because he hadn't lost. And he seemingly had pretty solid takedown defense. And seemingly supposed to be the better striker here. And I think he's the slightly longer guy as well. You think odds would kind of favor him if he hadn't had that loss he did to Gerald Marchart. That's what's kind of putting him back. But ultimately, ignoring all those things, just focusing in on the bare basics. Kyle Borralho is the more well-rounded fighter. Mahmoud Muradov does have a full skill set, but mostly he's just going to bounce around, look to swing big shots and be explosive on flying knees and just whipping those punches out there. Whipping those punches and kicks, slapping you like those big slapping heavy kicks and big slapping heavy punches. And it's moving and angling and throwing those bombs, basically. But Kyle Borralho's going to mix it in, look for takedowns. Kyle Borralho is also very good at... Kyle Borralho, they both got that in-and-out style, but Kyle Borralho's much more, I guess, sharp, you could say. Much more reserved. It's not a case he out there jumping and swinging and spamming combos and just swinging with all his might and ducking and doing overhands. He's out there really drawing you in and landing shots or lulling you to sleep, then exploding. He, like say, picks, and I like that more in a high-level close match. The guy that's going to not just be conservative like Tyrell Woodley, just waiting for that perfect moment and that one big shot, but like not just out there letting all hang loose and just jumping and forcing things. Like, set things up, set up your motions and really see it through. And I feel like he can be better defensively, be more accurate with shots, and also with Muradov overcommitting to a lot of things, he can set up takedowns and react with takedowns and take Muradov down. I think ultimately he's going to be able to land clean shots and also land clean takedowns on Muradov and eventually be able to wear him down, outwork him, outgrapple him, and just fight the more well-rounded fight. And I think he just, like I said, land some clean shots, get some takedowns, wear on him in the first round. Second round, Muradov's hands lower, he's breathing heavier, the takedown's coming easier. Now I think in that second round, Kyle Borralho just see blood and just gets a takedown, just really start to work him and exploit his openings in the grappling and taps him out second round. So in this one, I have Kyle Borralho via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, Belal Muhammad versus Sean Brady. And how I see this one right here in the welterweight division again, Belal Muhammad, Sean Brady is flat out very, very good fight. But I think Belal Muhammad's experience will come through, and I think he's the better overall fighter, in my opinion, at least for this matchup. I think Sean Brady is the better BJJ guy, without a doubt. He is supposedly supposed to be one of the strongest guys in the weight class from word of mouth and from people that locked up with him. So that's the thing for him. But I think Belal Muhammad definitely has the better cardio. I definitely think he has the better resume, and he's the more well-rounded guy. I feel like Muhammad hasn't had any issue with grappling necessarily in his career, so he should be able to step to take down the Brady. If anything, Muhammad has had issues with getting outstruck. Like he lost, I'm not even going to get a name, but I know he definitely lost to Vicente Luque, a loss he avenged in some sorts. Alan Jouban and Jeff Neal, all strikers. So he does pretty well against grapples. I think he should be able to stuff to take down the Brady, and if anything, he can scramble Brady. And Muhammad's not a guy that has quit in him. If anything, Muhammad is like either like some freak eye poke or like he gets knocked out. He's not going to be a guy that's going to get put in a bad position and tap out. He's going to work out of that position. I mean, obviously you choke him out, he's going to get choked out, or you get you get the submission in. He's not a god or nothing. Man gets stuff, but he's not gonna allow you to get in those positions. And it's not like Brady is like 100% lock on submissions. He couldn't even submit Chiesa, who got a soft neck and tap hands. But nonetheless, I think Belal Muhammad shouldn't have much issue in the grappling department with Brady. It'd be interesting to see, but I feel like he should be okay there. Should be the stuff to takedowns, even look for his own takedowns. And in tough situations, probably grit it out, probably be able to, defend the submission as best as possible and show his heart as well in these situations, be able to survive the submissions and just keep outpacing him on feet. And also, Muhammad has shown to be the better striker. I feel like Sean Brady has looked kind of awkward every single time he strikes and look uncomfortable. And really, in most cases, when he's out striking, he's getting outstruck. So, can't really say his striking is all that good. I feel like Muhammad's striking has shown, at least from what we have seen, has looked much better. And he's decent, real good against grapplers. Should be able to stuff the takedowns. Should be able to get his own takedown, again, outwork him. Better cardio. And like I said, keep us where he, and do a better job of dictating his fight, like stuffing the takedowns, maybe going for his own takedowns, letting his hands go, letting his kicks go, and probably defend a couple submissions, letting Brady tire his arms out and limbs out, and just making Brady embrace the grind and outworking him to a decision. So in this one, I have Belal Muhammad via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, Katlyn Chookagian versus Manon Fiorot. And how I feel about this one right here is, I think these women are almost mirror images of each other, but I think Manon Fiorot just has that one edge. I think she has power. That's one edge she has over her. And I think she does a better job of controlling, I guess, the control factor. She spends very little time, she gives up very little control time. So I feel like she can land the heavier shots. I feel like she can sort of keep up with the pace of Chookagian, but land the heavier shots so that her less offense, but more impactful shots can favor over Chookagian. Then I feel like when they lock up, she can be the one better able to get takedowns. And again, look at her stat. Like, she probably in her whole career in UFC, the most control time she has given up is probably in a fight, a minute and 10 seconds. So she gives up very little control time. And outside of that, you probably combine all the other control time she's given up, it's been 50 seconds. So matter of fact, probably 30 seconds to be honest. So probably still all in her fights, less than 2 minutes of control time out of 5-6 fights. So she gives a very little control time. And even against similar opposition, same name fighters, she has given up way less control time. So I feel like she can muscle around in the clinch, probably get some takedowns. Still a very competitive fight. But again, Fiorot landing the heavier shots, Fiorot getting the takedowns, Fiorot getting the control time. But Chookagian, being game and not making this easy fight. But again, Fiorot having the control time in the clinch with the takedowns and landing the heavier shots. Chookagian having probably a little edge in output or significant strikes landed, or total strikes landed. Maybe Fiorot has more strikes significant, but I think Chookagian would definitely have a slight edge in total strikes. But I think Fiorot might be even, and maybe even outland her as far as significant strikes. But nonetheless, the heavier shots, the control time, and the takedown. So in this one, I have Manon Fiorot via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, Beneil Dariush versus Mateusz Gamrot. And how I feel about this one is very, very tight matchup. I feel like Beneil Dariush presents a lot of skill sets that can cause Gamrot problems. Saw Gamrot getting tagged with some body kicks a lot by Chookagian, and Dariush has some of the heaviest body kicks in the lightweight division right now. And really ever since he's been in the UFC. So man got some good kicks, and he probably could definitely circle Gamrot into those. I feel like he's the better striker. But really looking at both of their last fights, that cardio didn't really impress me as much. I mean, Gamrot in some of his other fights, his cardio impressed me more, but his last fight didn't really impress me much. But then again, Chookagian's a young dude. He can scramble well, so it's not as easy to just take him down and hold him down, or maybe some of these other guys. And Chookagian didn't really get tired either. I mean, they didn't get, none of them were super gas or tired, but I feel like Gamrot pace had looked better in other fights. But then again, like I said, he's going in there with a guy that could scramble with him, or he was in there with a guy who scrambled him. I don't think Dariush can necessarily do that. And then, I bring up cardio, but Dariush in his last fight, he was the aggressive grappler, and just after in the first round, he was already kind of mouth breathing and stuff just after one round, and it wasn't really as much scrambling in that one. Definitely not as much wrestling scrambles in that one. So I think Gamrot still can push a better pace than him and can drown him out there. I think it's gonna be a very tight matchup, but I think Gamrot's gonna be able to outwork him in this one, and not really allow Dariush to really be able to plant and land his kicks as much, or try to catch those kicks and get some takedowns. Ultimately, I just think Mateusz Gamrot's able to just outwork and outpace Dariush and put a pressure on him. He hasn't fought yet because Dariush is usually in all his fights the aggressive grappler. He might have got submitted maybe once or twice, but really it was because he got rocked. Like against Chiesa, he got rocked, and then Chiesa was able to submit him. It was the case that Chiesa took him down fresh, and then it was take him down. I think Chiesa couldn't really even get a takedown on the fresh one because he got caught. It then Chiesa submitted him. So it's never really been a case of somebody really going hard on takedowns constantly against him. We haven't really seen that yet. So Gamrot's going to bring something new to him. And I think that's Gamrot's style, and he can do that better, bring him into his realm and beat him in a decision. So in this one, I have Mateusz Gamrot via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Petrosyan versus Sean O'Malley. And how I see this one right here is, I think Sean O'Malley's a solid dude. I think he definitely could win the first round or win a round, which most likely will be the first round because Petrosyan does kind of take that round off, give it to his opponent, let them get the intel, and that's a bad recipe for a 3-round fight. So Sean O'Malley is definitely a live dog here. But I feel like he doesn't do the best with pressure. And on top of that, Petrosyan has a solid chin. Solid defense. He's one of probably the best pressure fighter in the bantamweight division right now, and probably top 5 best pressure fighters in all of MMA right now. So I don't see Sean O'Malley doing that well. Motino was just coming forward, just taking punches on the chin, and was able to touch O'Malley with some hooks a couple times when O'Malley was asking, catch him a couple inside leg kicks, outside leg kicks. And like Sean O'Malley didn't really have the best response to it. I mean, and you could say, in the Pedro Munoz fight, he defended leg kicks better, he checked them better in that fight, but still taking them instead of slipping those leg kicks or sliding out the way and avoiding them. So he's still taking, even though he's doing a better checking them, he's still not completely removing the damage or limiting the damage, still taking damage on those legs. So ultimately, I feel like O'Malley will have a good first round or a decent first round. At least, or I'm like saying, at least he might have a good first round. And I definitely think he could be game this whole fight. But I think ultimately, ultimately, Petrosyan's going to be a do his intel, stay pressuring him, and then really like in the second and third round, really start to unload him once he gathers his intel. Bit of catch and counter, walk O'Malley down, catch him over the top, catch him exiting, trying to circle out, and just like this constant pressure and probably rip him with inside leg, outside leg, rip him with body shots, and not giving Sean O'Malley the area to be comfortable. Matter of fact, Sean O'Malley always kind of had that issue. I think in his first fight was against I can't forget that dude's name, but Terrion Weir. Terrion Weir was supposed to get starched by him, but Terrion Weir was kind of walking him down at the second and third. So it's not nothing new in his game. I feel like he's gotten a lot better, but some of those same flaws are still there. Terrion Weir was able to sneak around in there in the second, I don't know if it was third, but he's definitely started to walk Sean O'Malley down in similar sense, like high guard, walking him down, and that's literally Petrosyan's game. So O'Malley's game, he's live, but I think Petrosyan's in actuality, he's gonna be the one who's gonna fall into Petrosyan's strength, walking down, get those shots caught on his guard, get countered, get ripped to the body, get worn down, get bullied in there, and that inevitable beating that he brings, just constantly in your face, constantly walking down, and constantly landing shots. So in this one, I got Petrosyan via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division for the undisputed bantamweight title, Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. And how I see this one right here between Sterling versus Dillashaw is I think Dillashaw is very game in this one, but I think it's Sterling's time. I think TJ Dillashaw is not the more round fight. He's definitely the more dangerous, stylistically wise, it seems like it favors him, but I think, like I said, Sterling's time, and also I think Dillashaw has so much tape on him, and his style is a bit predictable. Sterling might not be as technical on the feet, but he's odd and awkward, whereas Dillashaw is more technical, but his skill set is very predictable, and I feel like that's it's about the art of surprise, the stuff you don't know. You got somebody be the best at this, but you know exactly what they're doing, you can better prevent it. And I feel like Sterling has a good job of understanding what his opponent wants to do, and like I said, it's hard to get a beat on what Sterling does because he's just so odd and unorthodox. Dillashaw, like I said, more technical, but the tape is out there, and even without tape, not purely off tape, he's kind of predictable as a fighter, and I feel like Sterling should be able to take advantage of that. And also, I feel like Sterling will approach the grappling in a way that Dillashaw hasn't been pressed. People say Dillashaw's counter wrestling and defense is so good, but he hasn't really fought someone that has really went for a wrestling approach. You can say, Cruz, but when has Cruz ever really been a super aggressive grappler outside of the Mighty Mouse fight and maybe that one fight? But other than that, he hasn't really been an aggressive grappler, so he mostly just gives those takedowns for points. He just get that little trip and piles of points, but he never really been the one to take you down and heavily control you. So I feel like Sterling's going to just be able to outwork him, probably touch with some power that Dillashaw is not expecting from Sterling. Sterling be awkward, unorthodox, and be aggressive. And eventually be able to set some takedowns, backpack him, and just turn this into a grappling matchup, and that's going to favor Sterling. I think Sterling just out-scrambles, outworks him, and just eventually over the course of the rounds, start to break him down, and then tap him out third round. So in this one, I have Aljamain Sterling via third round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division for the undisputed lightweight title, Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. And how I see this one right here is very, very good fight right here. Islam Makhachev's approach is going to be to, make him embrace the ground, maybe try to touch him a couple power shots and then look for takedowns. If he gets dropped, go in there and ground and pound him. But I think his game plan kind of revolves like he just wants to break him. Like he don't feel like he can wrestle or grapple with him, or especially not over the distance. Feel like he can out-grind him, out-technique him. But really, again, it kind of comes down, he just feels like he's going to break Oliveira. But that's what everybody else has been thinking. His approach is definitely far different from everybody. He's definitely more capable than the people Oliveira have been beating over these past 3 fights, like the Gaethjes and the Poiriers and the Chandler necessarily. But I still think the end is going to be the same. I think Charles Oliveira wins here. I feel like he has a good style to beat the Makhachev. He's going to be pressing forward, which is going to, probably take something off of the takedowns of Makhachev, because now you got a reactive shoot, and it's not just like you got somebody going backward and you just shoot through them while they already backing up, or they by the cage, and you can easily, there's no way to really no room to run, because now you got their pin against the cage, or you have in a situation where all they have behind them is a cage, so they can't really avoid the takedown much. But now you get him walk down. Oliveira's stabbing with teeps to the body. You try to go for a single or something to catch the kick. Oliveira's starting with submissions, starting with elbows, and constantly just walking him down, constantly tagging him. And also, like I say, breaking him. But Oliveira at 55, I think a lot of those L's where he kind of looked quitting outside of maybe the Felder fight and outside of being like 19 or 21 years old, most of those fights were at 45 when he was struggling to make the weight class. And I don't know, but no excuses. I just think weight cut or no weight cut, he's been on looking the best he has been looking as of now. And we have seen him go around. We have seen him overcome adversity. And he's definitely overcome a hump in his career that was an issue for a long time. So until they showed him himself again, or you can't just keep holding that against him. So if that's Makhachev's path to victory or what he's relying on, not a good recipe. But even without that, Charles Oliveira is going to be going for, which I don't think is the best for Makhachev. Constant output. I think he's the better striker, and he has shown to be a striker. Whereas Makhachev, we haven't really seen him strike too much. I know his skills are pretty much underrated in that area and pretty much kind of great because we haven't really seen too much of him. But you got to go with the guy who has shown you that, and that's Oliveira. And Oliveira has been in these tough adversity moments, and I feel like he's going to put Makhachev in adversity. And I'm a favor of Oliveira's experience in adversity because he has been in adversity, whereas Makhachev has yet to face any real true adversity. So I'm a favorite guy that has been in it to, be better able to swim in it. You could be able to do that in the camps, in the gym, but it's a whole different ball game when it's an actual fight. And I feel like Oliveira's experience, recent fights, and the evolution is going to prevail for him here. And he's going to surprise Makhachev on the feet, in the grappling, and the wrestling. And I think eventually, when Makhachev thinks he's going to wear down, I think Oliveira only gets stronger, and that's going to demoralize Makhachev. And I think Oliveira just turns him up on him even more in the third round, where he thinks he's probably going to break and fade at, hurting Makhachev, and then it's taking advantage of the situation, grappling and tapping him out third round. So in this fight, I have Charles Oliveira via third round submission. And that concludes my predictions for the full card of fights for UFC 280, Oliveira versus Makhachev. And as always, thanks for watching. Welcome back.